Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. First, I want to wish everybody a Chag Sameach, Moadim L'Simcha, very happy, healthy holiday of Sukkot. I'm going to discuss tonight a very interesting concept that is mentioned in the Talmud in Masechet Sukkah. And that is the question of how all of the Jewish people can live together in one sukkah. Now, where does this come from? The Gemara says that we are told, Kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu basukot. The word basukot, as it's written, is spelled without a vav. The vav would make it a plural, meaning many sukkot. But without a vav, it can be read as one sukkah. How is that possible? How could every Jew live? Can you imagine, even with somebody you love, being in one room with them for 7 days, as the time of Sukkot is, being in one room with them and never leaving for those 7 days? Would there be any arguments? Well, I don't know. Let's multiply that with all of the differences between the Jewish people, differences in religious observance, people who are not observant, people who are one stream of Judaism, people who are another stream of Judaism, people who are have different philosophies, different ideas, different outlooks on life. How could all of these people, all of these Jewish people, live in one sukkah? You would think, at first thought, it would be totally bedlam. But here's an answer. And the answer I saw was from a beautiful Torah from my friend Rabbi Sholom Brodt, of blessed memory. And he gave an example. He said, in the olden days, we didn't have dating. We didn't have a young man and a young woman searching out each other. The parents did it. And the parents would find, the parents of a young man would find a wife for him. They'd never met before. And they'd meet after the parents arranged the deal. They would meet for a l'chaim, the initial step of marriage. And that's the first time they've met, most likely in those days. Not anymore, but many years ago. And then, and this is the days of the Talmud, a year later, they would get married. And during that year, it's a year of spiritual preparedness, but they didn't see each other during that year, for the most part. So here it is, the day of the wedding. I have two basically complete strangers. And, the parents of each have extolled the virtues of the other one to the other. And they're suddenly placed under the marriage canopy, and they're married. And then follows 7 days where they're alone. A time where they just spend together these 7 days. They don't go anywhere else. They have people outside their room will give them food, give them whatever they need, but they're together these 7 days. And you can imagine, once they're together, they're starting to meet each other, find out what the other's about, and suddenly the bride, the new bride, realizes that, well, this guy that my parents extolled to me, said he's such a wonderful person, he's got some faults. And the new husband will look at the wife and say, my parents were saying what a wonderful person is, but she's got some faults. And so can you imagine, multiply that by the millions of Jews in the world to put them in one thing. So how did they get along? How did they get along in a situation like that? How did the new husband and wife get along? So Rabbi Brodt told a story that he remembered from childhood. And he said there was a king who ruled over a large country, and he was very, very interested in gems. And he would spend 10 minutes every day going into his storehouse, and he'd look at this beautiful crown diamond that he had, just the most beautiful diamond in the world. And he's just looking at it, turning it over in his hand, and then he'd put it back in the box for the next day. Well, one day as he was putting it in the box, the diamond touched a smaller diamond, and it got a scratch in it. So here, this perfect diamond all of a sudden had a scratch. The king was beside himself. He called out, anybody who can repair this diamond, come and let me know. Come apply for the job of repairing the diamond. People after people came, craftsmen, they looked at it, they said, I'm sorry, we can't do anything. Finally, one young person came, and he said, oh, I can do it. Give me a chance. Okay, so the king gave him a chance. He said, okay, so the guy tells the king, come back tomorrow and your diamond will be repaired. The king comes back the next day. The young man gives the king a box, a little container where the diamond was. And the king opens it and he sees the most beautiful thing. He sees the most beautiful thing there, a diamond that's much prettier, much more beautiful than before. Why? What had this young man done? He had taken that scratch of the diamond and turned it into the stem of a rose, and he made a beautiful rose out of that on the diamond, which was much prettier than ever before. So the king realized the wisdom of this craftsman who saw the ugly scratch as the beginning line of the beautiful rose. So too with this young couple, called them Yankel and Leah. They looked at each other's faults in these first 7 days of their marriage, and they said, this too shall become a beauty spot. Together we'll make this beautiful. And that's how they bonded together during their 7 days after the wedding ceremony. When all the Jewish people get together in one sukkah, we will help each other turn our own blemishes, our own faults, into sparkling lights. All of Israel is fitting to be together in one sukkah, meaning we don't believe that the faults that we see are really permanent. And we believe that darkness can be turned into light. Bitter can be turned into sweet. We have the ability that God gave us to do this. And the more we unite and get together and have achdus together, unite and bond with each other, the more our independent, unique beauty can shine forth. The Torah tells us, it says, if you see your friend doing something wrong, it's normally translated as, you shall rebuke him. Try to steer him in the right way. But another interpretation of that Rabbi Brodt brings is the word hocheach. Hochacha also means to prove. So what he says is to hocheach es amisecha, prove that your friend's bitterness and darkness can be transformed into light and into sweetness. This is what the Talmud is telling us. This is what the Torah is telling us, that yes, we can live. We can live in one sukkah. We can take the faults of each of us and turn them into beautiful things. If only we take that first step, the first step of achdus, the first step of unity. Sukkot, being under the divine cover of God, is, in fact, a time that we can all get together as one. My blessing to us is to have a wonderful continued Chag, continued festival, and let us learn the important principle of unity and be united. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. Shabbat Shalom, Moadim L'Simcha.